Stand Atlantic finally dropping their brand new album, Fuck Everything and Run, aka f.e.a.r.
Oh, that's what it stands for.
Body parts get me out the door, like I wanna cut the ties with a blunt. So tell me why you love me, 'cause I've gone for chance.
Yep, that's what it stands for. Fuck Everything and Run. Ah, man. For the first time since Wolves at the Gate, I am excited. Like, I am truly excited to talk about an album.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just, there's been some good albums this year, but the top tier, the ones that are contending for the end of the year, they've been a little shy in the first half of 2022. Stand Atlantic coming out with a lock, I'm pretty sure at this point. This shit's incredible.
Yeah, I would echo that this is also probably a lock for me. And I would put it maybe in the same vein as well, I guess we'll talk about it next month kind of thing. But that it's I put it in the same vein as a Memphis Mayfire, where it's just fun and you can't not listen to it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not drawn in maybe necessarily by the lyricism in the same way that I was, Death of Peace of Mind, maybe, or, I'm kind of spoiling my top 10 albums of the year here so far,
I think I spoiled my top EPs already, so.
Yeah. But that, like, with Dream Wake, where I want to go back and I want to hear, like, the sax solos and everything like that. Whereas with this, I'm drawn back to this simply because it is so fucking fun and entertaining and bouncy to listen to. And the fact that they contain so much of that in a longer track list but a shorter runtime draws me back in to be able to replay it over and over and over again. I gotta know, Jake. We sung some high praise about the singles, and I don't remember if you echoed my sentiment that I had on the first night that we listened to this, where I was like, I'm really glad the second half of the album kind of picked it up, because it seemed like it was very single focused, I guess would be a way to put it. Like, it was a single heavy album. Give it a month to sit with it. How do you feel about the singles versus the non-singles? Do you have any new favorites?
The singles are still generally my favorite on here. However, there is one glaring exception.
I think we all know what it is.
Cabin Fever.
Yeah.
Yep.
That song, Cabin Fever is the first proper holy shit moment I've had this entire year. When that breakdown comes in out of nowhere, when that breakdown starts building out of nowhere, I am just like, hello, Stand Atlantic, hello, are you okay?
Right.
Like, are you guys okay? And then it hits, and pop punk bands can make better breakdowns than half of the metalcore bands I listen to, I guess. Fuck it.
Yep.
I was so blown away by that, to a point where it is half of my top 5 most played songs of the year right now are consisted of half Bad Omens and half Stand Atlantic.
You know what? It's funny you say that, because I think mine are too, and it's literally my top 4. Let me double check. Spoiling my top songs of the year right now. Yeah, of my top 5, 2 are Bad Omens and 2 are Stand Atlantic.
Yeah, and
so
I think yeah, Cabin Fever to come at the end of the album too, I think is so important, because it follows the weakest stretch of songs on the album, in my opinion, with Nails from the Back, Blood Clot, and XO. I'm discounting Don't Talk to Me, because I've actually gone back to that song a fair bit. But Nails from the Back, Blood Clot, and XO are the 3 songs that have not fully clicked with me yet. I think they're all fun. Whenever I hear them, they're great. Like, that chorus in Blood Clot is fantastic. Nails from the Back, probably the most underwhelming. And XO is just fun like usual. But to go from, like, the insane streak of songs of Dumb, Hair Out, Death Wish, and Switchblade to 4 songs that are kind of all more underwhelming, to then end with Cabin Fever into Molotov. The brutal energy, the fast pace, the BPM of those two songs to end this album blew me away. And then you get I wonder what kind of garlic bread they get at Mensa.
They have at Mensa.
Shout
out Stand Atlantic.
Stand Atlantic do Stand Atlantic things. Cabin Fever is an absolutely incredible song. Not my favorite song on the album, but it's damn close at this point. That type of trap beat that the song opens up with, typically not something that I vibe with, but similar to Last Cigarette by Mothica that we talked about at the beginning of this episode, it works for me, and it worked for me with Mothica. It is excelling for me with Cabin Fever right here. Just as I said, the first proper holy shit moment that I've had this year. And in comparison, the few other holy shit moments that I have experienced consist of The Breakdown Goes Boom by Amaranth and Caskets with the final say, where Matt just belts out "Can you hear me?" before the forced chorus.
Yeah.
Like, those are the... Cabin Fever is one of those moments, the first time I hear that song, that I'm not going to have a reaction like that on first listen for months.
Yeah,
unless June 10th has anything to say about it.
Right.
But it's really just something special. And I've spent so much time just talking about that one song that I need to double back to that streak of Dumb, Hair Out, Death Wish, and Switchblade.
Just so stupid good.
It's maybe the best streak of 4 songs I have heard all year. And yes, that includes a Bad Omens album that I heard back in February.
Yeah.
Stand Atlantic are my favorite pop punk band by quite a long shot at this point. No one's particularly close. I don't know who would even be fighting for second at this point.
See, it's interesting that you say that, because I know who's fighting for second, and it's with Confidence, and they're on tour together, and I'm seeing them on Friday. So like, no, I don't think there is a single band except maybe Bad Omens, to continue to talk about them during our Stand Atlantic review, that is so demonstrably better with every single album release. Like, the progression of Skinny Dipping to Pink Elephant was like leaps and bounds. Like, Stand Atlantic, they came in 2018 showing off that they can make really good pop punk, they're just like every other pop punk band. And then 2020, they come in with Pink Elephant, which was a top 10 album of the year for both of us. Was it top 5 for you as well?
Top 10. I think it was like 7
top
or 8
10
for me.
Yeah, it was 5 or 6 for me. Jacob, did that make your top 10 that year? I can't remember.
Which, sorry?
Pink Elephant by Stand Atlantic? No, it was All Time Low that made yours.
It was All Time Low, yeah.
And then, that one that felt like they were coming into their own. With this truly I know it's not a self-titled, but it almost feels like it, because this feels like such a statement of, we can do whatever the fuck we want. Something like Don't Talk to Me feels to me like a With Confidence song. XO sounds like Don Broco. I'm gonna be honest. I heard it the first night, and it's just been reinforced ever since.
That might explain why XO has been one of the more underwhelming songs on this album.
I love it, bro. I think it's so good. The fact that they can get something like, they've got the normal type of, Royal and the Serpent. I would expect that type of feature. Nothing Nowhere, I guess, makes sense as he transitions over into his pop punk side of thing. They can get a fucking Tom the Mailman feature on a pop punk song. Tom the Mailman, by the way, an R&B artist, and make it work as well as they do and create a song that's that good. I think it's very hard sometimes for pop punk bands to make an album of this track length that feels so consistently fresh, both in terms of in the scope of the genre and on a song-to-song basis, and Stand Atlantic have nailed it in spades. I don't think there's a single bad song on here. There's not one that I don't have saved. And it seems like with every listen, the ones that I felt more ambivalent on, I grow to love more and more in their own unique identity, in the same way that I felt myself doing with that With Confidence album last year that ended up landing it at my number 2 spot. and I felt the same way about that with Confidence album, where it felt like every song had its own identity, and the band was making a statement of we transcend the pop punk genre. We can do whatever we want and make it work. Stand Atlantic's doing that same thing, but almost, I wouldn't say even almost, they're doing it better. Like you said, with Cabin Fever introducing something like a trap beat, and her going into more of like the screaming side of the punkier side of things, with like basically a fucking breakdown, right? Like
it is a breakdown. It has the build.
No other pop punk band, and very few bands in the scene in general, have demonstrated the same level of versatility and talent that Stand Atlantic can do. And I also think something that I noticed is that there is, I believe, only 2 or 3 songs on here that are 3 minutes or more.
Most of them are pretty short. Most of them can fall under that 3-minute time.
And I think that's part of the appeal, is that they pack so much of that into that short amount of time so that it's more easily digestible. I mean, I think it's a 13 or 14 track album that comes in under 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I think that they picked perfect features for this, including her mom, because, again, we got to have some quirky, quintessential pop punkiness in there, and I think they do it well. I mean, it's just a modern day pop punk masterpiece, you know? A lot of people say that about stuff like Neck Deep or whatever, and I don't like that style of pop punk. I like this. This blends the pop and punk aspects perfectly to define the genre. I would say that, to me, they're doing pop punk better than any other band right now, and this is also a genre-defining album. And I love them for it. I think that this is perfect.
I think I'm inclined to agree with that. I did want to make a funny joke, and Stand Atlantic said fuck everything and run from creating stereotypical pop punk, because they have certainly demonstrated that. You will be hard-pressed to find another band that can create songs like Death Wish and Cabin Fever and Molotov on the same album.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a phenomenal testament to how talented the band is, and to what you can do with a genre that, you know, might be considered, this is a boring, overdone, overused genre. You know, I'm looking at you, Machine Gun Kelly, you know, making stuff that sounds like Blink-182 did. You can be creative with it, and Stand Atlantic proves that with this album.
Absolutely. I think the one thing I haven't really got to touch on yet at this point is Doomsday, the opening track. Which I wasn't that big a fan of at first listen. The opening guitar riff just felt a little, in pop punk fashion, it felt a little cheesy to me.
Yeah.
It put a stupid smirk on my face when I heard it, not in like a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more I heard it, the more I kind of got into it, and I started bouncing around to that riff, and I'm like, yeah, this is an awesome opening track. And then you end the album with Cabin Fever and Molotov in the 40-second... I wonder what kind of
garlic bread with Mensa, yeah.
And it's just like, the one knock that I could give against this album is that there were the 3 songs, Nails from the Back, Blood Clot, and XO, were kind of underwhelming but still really good. And then Doomsday just kind of being an average opener. But a few weeks removed from this album, I think Doomsday is an incredible opener. And it sets up what to expect for the rest of the album. And it's now one of my favorite tracks on here, which again isn't saying very much, given that it's probably only my 6th favorite song on here. But there's so much to like about this album. Highly recommend. Stand Atlantic are doing. They are defining pop punk. They are in the same way that Bring Me the Horizon are kind of carrying the flag forward with what like post-hardcore and metalcore and like whatever the genre, whatever the fuck Bring Me the Horizon do. They always feel like they're one step ahead of the curve. Stand Atlantic are in that same spot, but with pop punk. And people, I don't think, realize that yet.
If you're not paying attention to this band, you need to be.
Yeah.
There needs to be more people talking about this band. And, you know, this really proves why.